Hello and welcome to our latest video. We'll be looking at banana bread. I'm also going to put the ingredients and quantities in the description, but the first thing you want to start with is very ripe bananas. To make one banana bread, I use 2 whole bananas. Depending on the size, you can use 3 or maybe 1.5. So once you've got your bananas, you want to mash them up, and to do that, the main thing you need is either a fork or a potato masher. So I'm using both in this situation, starting with the potato masher and then moving on to the fork, just because these bananas were not as ripe as I would have normally wanted them to be. So once done with the potato masher, you move on to your fork, just to make sure that you get all those big chunks that are still left and mash them through. Later on in the video, you also see me using a hand mixer that just helps break the small chunks down. Now you want to add your 2 eggs to the mix. Next up, so you want to have buttermilk ready. So if you don't have buttermilk, store-bought, you can make your own by mixing whole milk, so the same quantity you would have used as buttermilk. So in this case, a 1/4 cup with a teaspoon to a tablespoon of lemon juice. You set that aside for about 5 minutes at the least. So while that's turning into buttermilk for you, you then do all your other ingredients, which is what we'll do next. So now to this mix, we added the seasonings, which is nutmeg, cinnamon, as well as the flavoring, which was in this case banana essence as well as vanilla essence. So nutmeg and cinnamon, you're putting a teaspoon each, and that's the same for the vanilla essence and banana essence. So it's at this point as well, if you wanted other flavorings, you can add them to this as well. So in some cases, people can use strawberry flavoring. Once those are in, the next thing you want to do is to add your sugar and that buttermilk as well as your oil. The oil is a 1/4 cup, the sugar is 1 cup, and the buttermilk, as we've already mentioned, is a 1/4 cup as well. So don't worry about using custard sugar, you can use granulated sugar, it's not a problem. So make sure you mix very well, and in most cases, once I've mixed with the spatula, then I move on to a hand mixer, just so that I can whisk it and break down all the big chunks from the bananas. As you can see here, this is slightly whisked, and it also helps to make sure that the flavorings and the seasonings are evenly distributed within the mixture. So now once you've done that, the next thing we are doing was to add the rest of the dry ingredients. In this case, it's just flour as well as baking powder. You can see me adding chocolate chips. Those were an optional addition. You don't have to add chocolate chips. You can have other optionals like raisins, desiccated coconut, and the likes. So I'll put them also in the description in terms of what I've used in the past. So at this point then you will need to then hand mix the remaining part. I used in the recipe 1 cup and 3/4 of flour, but because my mixture was not as firm as I wanted to be, I added an additional 1/4 cup. And then in terms of your tin, you can use any shape you want. So a loaf tin will be usually the best, but it takes longer to bake than round or a flat square tin. So just always be willing to or open to changing how long you bake it for and the temperatures based on what equipment you are using. So make sure you mix it all through thoroughly using your hand. This time you don't need a whisk. You can always use a whisk if you want, but you don't need to. Banana bread should be a 5 to 10 minute preparation. So it's at this point I was then adding my additional flour. You can see me walking about there. Once you've mixed that and you're happy, then you just pour it into your baking tin. So as you can see, I've lined my tin with parchment at the bottom. It just makes it easier for me to extract the banana bread from it once it's fully baked, because it's only the sides that are more likely to stick in this situation as opposed to the entire bottom. Welcome to the joys of video recording. In this case, I was trying to find the best angle to do what I needed to do while also recording everything that I was doing. But hey, we learn. So just make sure that's level, and then you pop that in the oven. So banana bread takes a long time to bake, so you're looking between 50 to 70 minutes depending on the temperature as well as the oven you're using. So I did mine at 155 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes. It might take longer, but when you get to about 50 to 60 minutes, that's when you can check by using a wooden skewer or a butter knife to just check that it's cooked through and through to the bottom. In most cases, your banana bread will crack at the top. That's not a problem. It's actually to be expected, and it's a good way for it to release the air as well as continue baking through the middle. So this is the finished article. So thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed that. As I mentioned before, the ingredients are in the description, so try it out and see how you get on. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe as well as a comment, and tell us what you think about this video as well as whether you've tried it or not. Today we're shouting out Wall of Kitchen. Please follow them and also look at their videos and their content, because there are some amazing ideas on how to make amazing meals for yourself and your family. So please give them a look, follow them as well as look at their videos on YouTube.